You've been seeing patterns that don't exist. That moment when someone's text feels cold and your chest tightens. You reread it 7 times, analyzing punctuation, searching for hidden meaning in the space between words. Your body already knows something's wrong. Your heart rate climbs. You're not imagining the sensation. You're imagining the pattern that caused it. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Your brain doesn't discover patterns. It manufactures them. And the patterns you see most clearly are the ones that hurt you most deeply. Because pattern recognition isn't about truth. It's about survival. Your nervous system would rather see danger in safety than miss danger altogether. This isn't about being paranoid. This is about being human. Your brain is a meaning-making machine that never turns off. Somewhere deep in your skull sits the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure that functions as your internal alarm system. This structure doesn't think. It reacts. It scans every moment for patterns that match previous danger. A tone of voice, a facial expression, the way someone stands too close or steps too far away. When the amygdala detects a pattern match, even a partial one, it floods your system with stress hormones before your conscious mind catches up. This is why your body reacts before you understand why. This is why you feel uncomfortable in situations that look perfectly safe. Your amygdala isn't analyzing the present moment. It's comparing it to every threatening moment stored in your nervous system's database. The prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, tries to make sense of this alarm. So it searches for explanations. It builds narratives. It creates patterns to justify the feeling. You felt anxious during that conversation, so your mind retroactively finds reasons. They seemed distant. Their smile looked forced. They said fine, but their energy felt off. Notice what happened there. The feeling came first. The pattern came second. Your brain reverse-engineered meaning to explain a sensation. This is called pattern completion. Your brain fills in missing information based on past experience. Someone raises their voice slightly, and your nervous system completes the pattern with memories of every time raised voices led to danger. The present moment disappears. The past takes over. And suddenly you're responding to a threat that exists only in your neural wiring. Here's the crucial part. This system saved your ancestors' lives. The human who saw a pattern in the rustling grass and assumed predator lived longer than the human who assumed wind. False positives were survivable. False negatives were fatal. So evolution built a brain that overdetects, that sees tigers in shadows, that finds intention in randomness. Your brain is designed to be wrong in a specific direction. It's designed to see patterns that aren't there. Because the cost of missing one real pattern was death. The cost of seeing 100 fake ones was just anxiety. You inherited this system. And now you live in a world where most threats aren't physical. They're social, emotional, relational. But your amygdala can't tell the difference between a predator and a text message that feels off. So it applies the same pattern detection software to everything. Every interaction, every silence, every change in energy. The result? You see meaning everywhere. Your brain treats randomness like a puzzle to solve. Coincidences become signs. Neutral events become loaded. And uncertainty becomes unbearable because uncertainty means potential danger that hasn't been identified yet. This is why you replay conversations for hours. Your brain is scanning for the pattern it thinks it missed. The moment where things shifted. The subtle cue that explained the discomfort. Even when no such moment exists. Even when the discomfort came from your nervous system, not the conversation. Let me describe something you probably recognize. Someone passes you in the hallway without making eye contact. Your stomach drops. Instantly, your mind starts building the pattern. They're upset with you. You said something wrong yesterday. Maybe last week. Maybe months ago. You start mentally reviewing every recent interaction, searching for the moment you caused this. Except they weren't avoiding you. They were preoccupied, distracted, thinking about something completely unrelated to you. But your brain didn't register that as a possibility because your nervous system already decided there was a threat. So your prefrontal cortex got to work building a story that matched the alarm. This happens constantly. You send a message and don't get an immediate reply. Your brain starts calculating. How long has it been? What was the tone of your last message? Did you say too much? Not enough? Were you too vulnerable? Not vulnerable enough? Within minutes, you've constructed an entire narrative about why they're pulling away, about what you did wrong, about the pattern of rejection playing out again. But maybe they just got busy. Maybe they read it and meant to reply later. Maybe they're dealing with something that has nothing to do with you. Except your pattern detection system doesn't wait for evidence. It generates conclusions from incomplete data because waiting feels dangerous. People who grew up in unpredictable environments become especially skilled at this. If love was inconsistent, if safety was conditional, if approval depended on reading subtle shifts in mood, your nervous system learned to become a detective. You learned to scan faces for micro-expressions, to analyze tone for hidden emotion, to track patterns in behavior that might predict what's coming next. This made you hyper-aware. But hyper-awareness isn't the same as accuracy. You learned to see patterns everywhere because missing one real pattern had consequences. So your brain started seeing patterns that didn't exist. Better to be wrong than to be caught off guard. This is called apophenia, the tendency to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated things. When you see the number 11 everywhere and think the universe is sending you a message. When you notice your phone battery is at 22% for the third time this week and decide it means something. When random events line up and your brain insists it's too much to be coincidence. Your nervous system craves order. It craves predictability, because predictability equals safety. So when life feels chaotic, your brain generates patterns to create the illusion of control. If you can see the pattern, you can predict what's coming. If you can predict what's coming, you can prepare. If you can prepare, you might survive. Except most of these patterns are fiction. They're your brain trying to make sense of a world that doesn't always make sense. They're meaning imposed on randomness because randomness feels intolerable. There's another layer to this. Something called pareidolia. Seeing faces in inanimate objects. The man in the moon. The Virgin Mary in a piece of toast. Your brain is so primed to detect faces that it finds them everywhere. Because recognizing a face faster than others could mean the difference between safety and danger. This same mechanism applies to social patterns. You see rejection in neutral expressions. You see judgment in silence. You see abandonment in distance. Not because these things are there, because your brain is scanning for them. And what you scan for, you find. The exhaustion comes from this constant surveillance. Your mind never rests. Every interaction becomes data. Every silence becomes suspicious. Every change becomes significant. You're not living in the present moment. You're living in the pattern your brain constructed from fragments of past pain. Plus, once you see a pattern, you start looking for evidence to confirm it. This is called confirmation bias. If you believe someone is pulling away, you notice every time they seem distant. You overlook every time they're warm. Your brain highlights data that supports the pattern and ignores data that contradicts it. So the pattern becomes real. Not because it was real to begin with, because your attention made it real. You shaped your perception to match your expectation. And now the pattern feels undeniable. Obvious. How could anyone not see it? This is how people end up in loops. Seeing the same patterns repeat across different relationships, different jobs, different cities. They think the pattern is external. The world keeps showing them the same thing. But often, the pattern is internal. The brain keeps generating the same interpretation because the nervous system is still responding to old threats. Here's what nobody tells you about pattern seeing. It's not a flaw. It's a feature that saved you. When you were young and the world felt unpredictable, pattern recognition became your superpower. You learned to read a room before entering it, to sense shifts in energy before they exploded, to detect danger before it arrived. This wasn't paranoia. This was intelligence. This was survival. Children in chaotic homes become pattern experts. They learn which footsteps mean safety and which mean threat. They learn which silences are peaceful and which are loaded. They learn to predict emotional weather by reading the smallest atmospheric changes. A sigh, a look, the way a door closes. This created a nervous system that never stops analyzing, that treats every moment as a potential pattern worth tracking. And while this was adaptive then, it's exhausting now, because you're still running that same software in situations that no longer require it. The twist is this: the patterns you see most clearly aren't the most accurate. They're the most familiar. Your brain is not showing you what's happening. It's showing you what it expects to happen based on what happened before. This is why trauma survivors see danger everywhere. Not because danger is everywhere, because their amygdala learned that safety is an illusion. That threat is the default. So it generates patterns that confirm this worldview. Every neutral situation becomes potentially threatening. Every person becomes potentially harmful. Every connection becomes potentially temporary. But here's the paradox. The more patterns you see, the less you actually understand. Because pattern making is not the same as pattern recognition. One is creative. The other is perceptive. And when your brain is creating patterns faster than reality can provide them, you stop seeing what's actually there. You see only what your nervous system expects. This is where hypervigilance lives. Not in accurate threat detection, in constant threat generation. Your brain becomes so skilled at finding danger that it manufactures danger in its absence. The cost isn't just anxiety, it's disconnection. You stop trusting your own perception because your perception keeps being wrong. You see threats that never materialize. You prepare for outcomes that never arrive. And slowly, you start to wonder if you're losing your grip on reality. You're not. Your reality is just being filtered through a nervous system that learned to prioritize survival over accuracy. And survival doesn't care about truth. It cares about preparation. So when someone says you're overthinking, they're partially right. But they're missing the deeper truth. You're not thinking too much. You're feeling too much. Your body is generating sensations based on pattern predictions, and your mind is desperately trying to explain those sensations with logic. The real problem isn't the thinking. It's the mismatch. Your nervous system is responding to patterns from the past. Your prefrontal cortex is trying to make sense of them in the present. And the two don't align. So you end up with anxiety that has no clear cause, fear that has no clear object, a sense of dread that feels prophetic but is actually just historical. This is why therapy focused only on changing thoughts often fails. Because the thoughts aren't the problem. The nervous system's pattern library is the problem. You can rationally understand that not everyone will abandon you. But if your amygdala learned abandonment as a core pattern, your body will keep responding as if abandonment is imminent. No amount of logic will override that until the nervous system itself feels safe enough to update its database. The other twist? Sometimes your pattern recognition is accurate. Sometimes you are picking up on real cues that others miss. Sometimes your gut feeling is right. The problem is learning to distinguish between accurate intuition and manufactured threat, between signal and noise, between pattern recognition and pattern generation. And that distinction is almost impossible to make when your nervous system is flooded. When you're anxious, everything feels like a pattern. Everything seems significant. So you treat your feelings as facts. You trust the alarm without questioning whether it's responding to present danger or past memory. So what do you do with this? How do you live with a brain that sees patterns everywhere? First, you stop fighting it. Your pattern-making system isn't your enemy. It's your outdated protector. It's trying to keep you safe using old maps. The goal isn't to destroy the system. It's to update the information it's working with. Start here. The pattern audit. When you feel certain about a pattern, pause. Ask yourself one question. What evidence supports this pattern? Not feelings. Evidence. Write it down. Separate observable facts from interpretations. Fact: they didn't text back. Interpretation: they're upset with me. Fact: their message was shorter than usual. Interpretation: they're pulling away. Notice how interpretation arrives instantly while facts remain thin. This gap between data and conclusion is where your brain generates patterns. Next, track your false positives. Keep a record of times you were certain about a pattern that turned out to be wrong. Not to shame yourself, to teach your brain that its predictions aren't always accurate. Over time, this data weakens the grip of automatic pattern making. Your nervous system begins to learn that uncertainty isn't always dangerous, that sometimes things don't mean what you think they mean. Then, practice sitting with randomness. This is uncomfortable. Your brain will resist. It wants to close loops, to explain, to make sense. But some things don't make sense. Some things are random. Some things just happen without deeper meaning. When you catch yourself building a pattern, try this. Say out loud, maybe, or maybe not. Don't commit to the pattern. Don't reject it completely. Hold it lightly. This teaches your nervous system that uncertainty is survivable, that you don't need to know everything immediately. That ambiguity isn't the same as danger. Another tool. Distinguish between patterns in behavior and patterns in outcomes. If someone consistently shows up late, that's a behavioral pattern. That's data. If you assume they're late because they don't respect you, that's an outcome pattern. That's interpretation. Behavioral patterns can be observed. Outcome patterns are often projections. Learn your nervous system's false alarms. What situations trigger pattern generation even when no real threat exists? For some, it's silence. For others, it's change. For others still, it's intimacy. Once you know your triggers, you can catch the pattern making as it starts. You can say, this is my nervous system running old software. This isn't necessarily about what's happening now. Also, build tolerance for meaninglessness. Not everything is a sign. Not everything is connected. Not everything requires interpretation. Some days are just hard. Some people are just stressed. Some situations are just complicated. And none of it means what your brain wants it to mean. This doesn't make you naive. It makes you discerning. Real patterns still exist. Real danger still exists. But learning to differentiate between accurate detection and anxious generation is the work. And that work requires slowing down enough to let reality catch up to your nervous system. One more thing. Notice when you're searching for patterns versus when patterns appear naturally. Searching is active. Your mind scanning, analyzing, connecting. Appearing is passive. Something reveals itself without effort. The patterns you have to work to find are usually the ones your brain is manufacturing. The patterns that appear without searching are more likely to be real. Finally, give yourself permission to be wrong about patterns. Your ancestors survived by assuming every pattern was real. You don't need to do that anymore. You can afford to miss some patterns. You can afford to be uncertain. The cost of not knowing immediately is usually much lower than the cost of constant vigilance. This is how you begin to reclaim your nervous system. Not by stopping pattern recognition altogether, by making it conscious instead of automatic, by treating your perceptions as hypotheses instead of facts, by building space between sensation and certainty. Here's the truth that brings relief. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to see every pattern. You don't need to predict every outcome. Your safety doesn't depend on your ability to decode the world perfectly. The patterns you've been seeing were never meant to explain reality. They were meant to protect you from it. And for a long time, they did. But protection and perception are different things. One keeps you safe. The other shows you what's real. And sometimes, what's real is that there is no pattern. Sometimes, things just are. Healing isn't about seeing patterns more clearly. It's about loosening your grip on the need to see them at all. It's learning to exist in the space between knowing and not knowing without panic. It's trusting that you can handle whatever comes without needing to predict it first. The brain that generates patterns everywhere is the same brain that kept you alive. Honor that. But also recognize that survival mode doesn't need to be permanent. You can thank your pattern-making system for its service and gently tell it that the emergency is over. Not every silence is rejection. Not every change is abandonment. Not every coincidence is a message. Not every feeling is a fact. And not every moment requires interpretation. Sometimes, the deepest wisdom is in letting things remain unresolved, in allowing mystery to exist without rushing to solve it. You are not losing your mind when patterns dissolve. You are finding your presence. You are not becoming careless when you stop overanalyzing. You are becoming grounded. You are not missing important information when you let go of certainty. You are making room for what actually is. The patterns will still come. Your brain will still generate meaning. That's not something to fix. But you can learn to hold those patterns lightly, to observe them without being consumed by them, to recognize when your nervous system is speaking and when reality is speaking, and to know that the difference matters. Healing is learning to live in the pause between pattern and proof, in the breath between sensation and story, in the quiet moment before your brain explains what you're feeling. That's where freedom lives. Not in understanding everything, but in being okay with understanding less. Your brain will keep trying to connect dots. Let it. But remember that the dots don't always connect. And that's not a failure. That's just life. Messy, random, unpredictable, and survivable without needing to be decoded. You were never meant to figure it all out. You were only meant to be here, present, breathing, alive. And that's enough. That's always been enough. The patterns you thought you needed to see were just your mind's way of trying to control the uncontrollable. But control was never the answer. Presence is. So rest. Let the patterns come and go like weather. Watch them without chasing them. Notice them without believing them. And trust that you can navigate life without needing to predict every turn. Because you can. You always could. You just forgot while you were busy trying to stay safe. The meaning you've been searching for in patterns isn't out there. It's in here. In the moment you stop searching. In the breath you finally take without analyzing it. In the silence you let remain silent. That's where you'll find what you were looking for all along. Not understanding. Peace.